To this Med-Day Thursday, and a number of our interviews, really for probably the past couple of years, have concentrated on the importance of identifying concussions, making sure when people are healthy enough to return to the field, and testing that can be done as well. Well, we're fortunate enough to be joined by somebody who unfortunately knows about traumatic brain injury. His name is Daniel Carcillo. Daniel, a 9-year veteran of the National Hockey League, a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, and also known for his aggressive play on the rink. Daniel, number one, I want to thank you for your time. Number two, I appreciate you talking about traumatic brain injuries. After you retired, you were only 30 years old. Tell us a little bit about the identification process that you went through to realize your head was not right after playing that long in the NHL, and also to the reemergence of going back home and dealing with your wife and kids and other family members.
Yeah, transition was extremely difficult. It becomes even more difficult when you are dealing with symptoms that you don't understand from an injury that you've never been educated on. And so I was dealing with things like slurred speech, headache, head pressure, focus, concentration, memory issues, impulse control issues, insomnia, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations. So it became really difficult when I went home and tried to integrate into the real world. The athletic world, in the NHL specifically, everything's handed to you. All the meals are there. Your schedule is given to you at the beginning of the year. You know where you're going to be 184 days out of the year. So you really have to adjust once you get out of the game. And like I said, I had to quickly become my own patient advocate to get a good handle on my quality of life and what had happened to my brain and how I could fix it.
How were you able to identify that you were suffering from traumatic brain injuries? Who helped you through that?
I helped myself. Okay. So I just seeked out a bunch of different treatments, functional neurology mainly being one of them, where they look at not only a cognitive system, but also autonomic, vestibular, ocular. There's a lot of things that go into what happens in the downstream sequelae with TBI. So you have balance issues, you have vision issues, you have anxiety, you get depression. And so there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. And I just quickly dove in 2015. I missed the NFL lawsuit settlement because I was in my career. So you don't look at things like that. Mm-hmm. And I just realized very quickly, wow, we're in a really bad spot as far as knowledge goes, as far as diagnoses go, as far as cognitive performance tools go, and what can I do for myself right now? And a lot of it was just things to manage symptomology. And then I found psychedelic medicine 2 years ago, and psilocybin most definitely saved my life. And before I started that regimen, I was still sleeping in till 3 p.m. and suffering from a lot of those symptoms in the darkest hole. And there's a reason that suicide is the #1 cause of death. So I have to, after TBI, you have to continue to educate, continue to raise awareness. So number one, people can recognize these signs and symptoms that are affecting their everyday life and then move into a treatment that works for them. So I always advocate for a number of different tools.
And through that whole self-identification process and then the advocacy that you're doing now came about Wasana Health. And I know that you've had the opportunity to team with some medical professionals, some research, some universities. What is the ultimate goal of Wasana Health and the message that you're trying to give to not only other athletes, but anybody who suffered a traumatic brain injury?
There's hope. I was not a mild case. I was moderate to severe. And I have completely reversed my symptomology. And if I could be so bold to say, I have cured my TBI pathology. I truly believe that. So now it's just a matter of putting the right team around me, which we have, with the medical expertise that can take what I know through FDA and Health Canada approved trials to get this to everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so the focus first is the symptomology that arises. Second, we will work diligently towards understanding the actual pathology of traumatic brain injury and cure that.
Daniel Carcillo, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Anybody that's watching this morning, if you happen to suffer from traumatic brain injury, if you have a loved one, WESANA Health, wasanahealth.com. TBI.com. Daniel Carcillo, NHL veteran and now head of Wasana Health and working as an advocate for those who have suffered TBI. Daniel, thank you so very much for joining us on this Med Day Thursday.
Thank you, brother.
Be back with more KOM Morning News right after this.